The stage was set for a political clash no one expected. Viewers tuned in thinking they would watch another sharp MSNBC interrogation. But what unfolded turned into the viral moment of 2025. Rachel Maddow believed she had the upper hand when she sat across from Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. What happened instead left Maddow silent on live television and transformed Crockett into a national sensation overnight. A 15-second clip of the exchange spread like wildfire, hitting more than 10 million views in a single day and sparking an unprecedented debate about the role of media power in politics. The studio lights were blinding, the cameras trained tightly on the two women. Maddow leaned forward in her trademark style, her glasses reflecting the heat of the lights, her papers stacked high with research. This was supposed to be another demonstration of why she's considered the face of progressive media. Producers had even set aside extra airtime, confident the segment would deliver the ratings punch they wanted. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, like a prize fight before the first bell. But across from her sat Jasmine Crockett, calm and poised, her posture radiating the assurance of someone who had nothing to fear. She looked less like a nervous guest and more like a trial lawyer, preparing to make her closing argument. That composure should have been Maddow's first sign that this interview was not going to follow the usual script. Political veterans watching from home later said they could sense something electric in Crockett's demeanor. The resolve of someone who had prepared for battle and wasn't coming to play defense. What began as a routine conversation about Democratic unity soon shifted into one of the sharpest media confrontations in recent memory, and every second was captured for the world to see. Before we break down this stunning showdown, make sure you subscribe, then hit the notification bell so you don't miss moments like this. Because what unfolded wasn't simply a heated interview. It was a textbook example of how to confront media pressure without losing ground. The techniques Crockett used are already being dissected by communications experts and campaign strategists nationwide. At 52, Rachel Maddow has built an empire as cable television's leading progressive voice. Known for her crisp suits, scholarly glasses, and command of political details, she's one of the most influential figures in media. Her nightly program attracts millions of viewers. She earns more than $7 million annually, and her reputation for grilling political guests is legendary. Maddow's hallmark tactic is the carefully staged document reveal, producing paperwork mid-interview to corner her guests. She has questioned presidents, exposed scandals, and often shaped the following day's political discourse. Politicians who appear on her show know it's both an honor and a risk. Maddow comes armed with research teams and exhaustive prep work. But this time her guest wasn't easily shaken. Jasmine Crockett, 43 years old and representing Texas, had already built a reputation as a fearless newcomer to Washington. A former civil rights attorney, educated at the University of Houston, she arrived in Congress determined to fight for working people. Known for her blunt speeches, viral committee appearances, and authentic communication style, she had gained nearly 1 million social media followers in just 2 years. Her courtroom record was formidable. She had taken on powerful corporations, defended voting rights, and won major cases others were afraid to touch. Her victories included a high-profile lawsuit against a bank accused of systematically discriminating against black families. Crockett wasn't a career politician polished for television. She was a fighter used to pressure, and she brought that fire into the studio. The interview was billed as a discussion on Democratic messaging heading into the 2026 midterms. Maddow had spent weeks suggesting progressives were jeopardizing the party's chances by pushing too aggressively for policies like Medicare for all or the Green New Deal. Segment after segment on her show reinforced the idea that progressive Democrats risked alienating suburban moderates. Experts and strategists she invited on seemed to agree. Bold, left-wing policies, they argued, were electoral liabilities. This night's conversation with Crockett was supposed to cap that narrative by getting her to acknowledge progressives were dragging the party off course. Instead, Maddow found herself in unfamiliar territory. Crockett had also done her homework, and she was ready to turn Maddow's own tactics against her. The cameras rolled, the opening question landed, and within seconds, the balance of power shifted. "Congresswoman Crockett," Maddow began, her voice cool and authoritative. "Polling shows that ideas like Medicare for all or defunding the police turn off moderates and push them toward Republicans. Aren't progressives risking the party's future with this approach?" It was a textbook Maddow question, polite on the surface, loaded underneath. Crockett smiled faintly, the kind of smile that signals confidence before a counterpunch. "Rachel," she replied smoothly, "that's an interesting frame. But before we talk about polls, shouldn't we talk about results? Because the numbers I've seen tell a different story." That was the moment the ground began to shift. Crockett refused the premise, redefining the terms of debate like a seasoned attorney. Maddow tried to tighten control, citing state elections in Virginia and New Jersey as evidence that progressive rhetoric cost Democrats votes. But Crockett didn't flinch. "Are we really blaming progressive policies?" she asked, leaning forward, while ignoring that in my district, in deep red Texas, I won by running on Medicare for all, housing reform, and criminal justice change. Progressives across the country are winning on these issues. That's not rhetoric. That's reality. The tension thickened. Maddow shuffled her papers, aiming to strike harder. She questioned whether Crockett's win in a safe district was comparable to competitive statewide races. She labeled pushing those policies irresponsible. That word hung heavy in the air. For most politicians, it would have been a cue to retreat. Crockett went the other direction. "Rachel," she said evenly, "I find it fascinating that you're calling me irresponsible while your program has spent weeks telling Democrats to abandon policies that actually help working families. Let me ask you, when was the last time you had to choose between paying rent and buying medicine?" The camera caught Maddow pausing, her authority faltering. "My circumstances aren't the point," she muttered. But the exchange had already changed. "Oh, but they are," Crockett pressed. "Because you sit here, making millions, telling families that demanding health care is unrealistic. You call it irresponsible to want a livable planet for our children. What's truly irresponsible is dismissing survival as a radical demand." The confrontation escalated. Maddow attempted to pull it back towards strategy, but Crockett cut in, her voice charged with controlled passion. "Strategic considerations? People are dying from unaffordable insulin. Families go bankrupt over medical bills. Students drown in debt. And you're telling us to water it down for suburban comfort?" The studio air was electric. Crew members shifted uneasily. This wasn't a typical friendly sparring match. It was a dismantling. Maddow argued Crockett's tone was rhetoric. Crockett fired back. "Is it rhetoric when parents ration their child's insulin? Is it rhetoric when families live in cars? No, Rachel. What's rhetoric is turning politics into entertainment while ignoring real lives at stake. Then came the blow that went viral. Crockett locked eyes with the camera, then at Maddow. You want to talk about irresponsible? What's irresponsible is a media figure making $7 million a year, telling struggling families their survival is too radical. What's irresponsible is forgetting what this fight is actually about. Maddow's expression froze, pale and speechless. Crockett wasn't finished. Pulling out her phone, she cited election data, showing progressive candidates campaigning on Medicare for all and student debt relief overwhelmingly won, while moderates who distanced themselves lost. So before you tell me fighting for my district is irresponsible, maybe ask yourself, when was the last time you spoke to a working family, paid a bill you couldn't afford, chose between political convenience and moral responsibility? Maddow tried one last defense, claiming her career proved her commitment. Crockett sliced through it. It looks like you built a brand, not a movement. While others fight in the trenches, you've grown comfortable playing gatekeeper. Her closing words landed with finality. I didn't come to Congress to make you comfortable. I came to make change. And if that bothers you, maybe the problem isn't my message. Maybe it's that you've forgotten what this fight is about. Silence filled the studio. Maddow, visibly rattled, sat speechless. Crockett rose, declared the conversation over, and walked off set. The cameras stayed live, capturing Maddow's stunned silence as producers scrambled. The segment, scheduled for 20 minutes, collapsed after 8. But those 8 minutes shook the foundations of political media. Within minutes, clips lit up social platforms. A 15-second snippet of Crockett's final words crossed 50,000 views in 10 minutes, 500,000 in an hour, and millions by dawn. Hashtags exploded. Hashtags Crockett Energy, Crockett vs. Maddow, hashtag Truth to Power. TikTok users remixed her lines, Instagram filled with memes, and Twitter turned Maddow's stunned face into viral reaction images. The cultural moment had arrived. Politicians quickly weighed in. AOC tweeted that Crockett showed what it means to resist media bullying. Bernie Sanders praised her for telling the truth about working families. Even conservative voices grudgingly respected her defiance, calling it rare authenticity. Maddow, meanwhile, went silent for 24 hours. MSNBC tried to frame the clash as a robust exchange, but viewers mocked the spin. When Maddow finally addressed it, dismissing Crockett's performance as passion, social media erupted again, pointing out it was precision, not emotion, that had dismantled her. In the aftermath, donations to Crockett's campaign skyrocketed. Progressive groups cited the interview as proof media elites were out of touch. Consultants urged candidates to stop appeasing television hosts and start speaking directly to voters. The Crockett effect reshaped progressive strategy, sparking media accountability projects and emboldening a new generation of leaders to challenge not just Republicans, but also establishment voices within their own ranks. 6 months later, the confrontation remained a touchstone. Pulling a Crockett became slang for refusing to bend under media pressure. Getting Maddowed meant a host losing control of their own show. And students studied the clip as an example of shifting power dynamics between media and politics. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the spectacle of Maddow's silence. It was the substance of Crockett's argument. She reminded millions that politics isn't about ratings or polling spin. It's about survival for real families. In 8 minutes, she turned the tables on one of media's most powerful figures and made clear who she was fighting for. The Crockett moment proved that courage and conviction can rewrite the rules of political discourse. And as she walked off that set, she left behind more than a viral clip. She left a challenge: to never forget who the fight is truly for.